There we go. All right. Yeah. So nice to meet you. My name's CC. Yeah.
My name is DJeez.
All right. Cool.
Not really my name, but
yeah. Yeah. No, it's all good. Everyone goes by their monikers. So
yeah.
you know, I'm CC and he's CJ. Although CC is my initials and CJ are his initials. So. But anyway.
I see Does Span and Void in here. Did you already interviewed them?
Yeah, I've already spoken with both of them, and Dustpan recommended I talk to you.
That's pretty nice of him.
Yeah, he seems like a nice guy.
Yeah, actually, I was kind of wondering like if he was going to be in there with me. That would have been nice, but
you know, we've only done a group interview one time, and I want to do it again, but I got to find the right group.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine it's difficult if people are talking over each other. You can't really soundbite out of that.
Exactly. But anyways, I wanted to ask real quick before we started. I think you were the one who did the DKC1 world record progression sort of document in the wiki, right?
Correct.
Did you write that comment on our YouTube video?
That was me, yes.
That was you, okay.
Name. Yes, okay. I did the MS. I was a little rude in that message. I was a little upset about some things, but it had nothing to do with the video itself. It's just that this whole super jump roll drama is still, it's old now, but you know, sometimes old wounds.
I get you. Whenever I was talking with Eason for that video, I don't think it really made it into the video itself, but he definitely seemed like, yeah, these jump rolls, man, like there's so much drama around them, but you know, like it is what it is, you know, like people hate it, some people love it, some people, you know, it's like, so
yeah,
I got the feeling that there was definitely a little bit of maybe not a wound, but definitely some stuff going on beneath the surface.
In hindsight, it wasn't so bad. I think it was dealt fine. It's just, I don't know. There was some dirty play, but I don't know. It doesn't matter. It's in the past now. I can't blame Eason for all the details either.
It's all good. Okay. Well, anyways, moving on to Donkey Kong Country 2.
Yeah, a game I actually am better at.
Nice. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about it. So when did you first start running DKC2?
I started running DKC2 in early 2014, very shortly after Reflected made his run. I think it was, AGDQ 2014, yeah. And I mean, it wasn't the best run that he had, but I didn't know any better back then. I was just, my mind was blown away, to be honest, watching Reflected. I knew about speedrunning, but I'd never seen really like Donkey Kong Country 2 or any of the Donkey Kongs. And it just blew me away. And I just got into it right away from that point. So yeah, February 2014.
Okay. Were you following along with Reflected and Claude going back and forth?
Oh yeah, I was. That was probably my best memories as far as the whole world record progression. Like that's probably my favorite sort of era because the back was so entertaining to watch, especially with one of them playing on Virtual Console, the other one playing on Super NES. There was this little, I guess, war, you could say. It was very entertaining.
Okay. So you said one of them was, I guess I need to double check on my notes because I don't remember that. So who was on Virtual Console and who was on SNES?
Reflected played on Virtual Console, which it's never been really scienced properly, but it was suspected to save around 6 to 8 seconds over just on load times. And Claude was playing on Super Nintendo. He was a little bit of a purist, but he wasn't alone with sentiment. So a lot of people supported him. A lot of people supported Reflected because it's the fastest version of the game. Why not play the fastest version?
Yeah. Okay. Did you so I guess you were jumping into the, was there a bit of any kind of sorry, let me phrase that. Was there any kind of community when you first joined?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
It was already established for sure, the community. I mean, I don't know how far back you're going to go in the documentary, but I can give you like a brief history of how the game sort of appeared in the US.
Okay.
Because at first,
I've done plenty of research, but I want to compare my notes to yours. So go ahead and tell me.
okay, well, I'm sure you know that it was pretty much a Japanese exclusive speed game for multiple years with Feast and Kioro and Riz, Drum, Castella. All these players were really, really, really good at the game much before speedrunning took off. And in early about 2011, you had two players by the name of Twig and Garrison. And Garrison, I'm sure you're familiar with.
Yep.
After the DKC1
Mm-hmm.
documentary. So these two players started watching what the Japanese players were doing, and they were trying to understand it, like how the tricks work and everything. And they were making tutorials in English. And they started bringing more and more players. So yeah, they started doing this around 2011. And then by 2012, you had even more runners that had started joining, like the Juice and Reflected.
Mm-hmm. You said people were joining. You say, was there like a place where people congregated at all, or?
Oh yeah. Speedruns Live was a place to be back then.
Okay.
A lot of races, and I mean that's how Reflected and the Juice. I mean that's how they all got good back then. They would race every day almost, like every day. The Juice Reflected for like almost a year. Like you can go back on Speedruns Live and watch their race history. It's pretty crazy how much they race. Anything like 10x Webwoods, just anything they could think of, they would race it, just practice.
Okay. I love those. Like, hey, we're just gonna play one level 10 times. That's the category.
Oh yeah, I think there's one where it's like 15 times Lava Fly. It's just a single trick. It's
okay, but anyways, continue. So they were doing SRO races a lot.
Yeah, and they were doing so many races that some of the Japanese players started noticing, and they started doing races themselves. There's a few Riz and Castella races, and then there's a Japanese player called Tag Blossom. He joined also. He was racing with American players. So there was a pretty strong community already. 2012, 2013. I wasn't anywhere, like I wasn't joined yet, but it was a strong community. My girlfriend, Christmas, she's right there. She was already running the game
Nice.
in 2013. We met on the game, I guess you could say.
Okay. All right.
So yeah, you could even say I joined a little late, even though I joined very early 2014.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of funny to think of like that, where it's like there was I think of like I joined speedrunning in like 2015 or like late 2014, just in speedrunning in general. I didn't even know it existed until about then, and I think, man, I missed so much, right? But I'm like, I mean, did I really? There was like a couple of years when it really exploded, but beyond that, I've been here for 5 years, like a solid 5 years. I've been in the community, so.
It's not bad. I mean, I always think that. I always think, man, it's like speedrunning is too optimized now. Nothing interesting is going to happen, but it keeps happening and happening over and over. Speedrunning refuses to die.
Absolutely. But okay. And so then you joined in 2014. Let me grab my notes real quick because I somehow don't have them open right now. So 2014, so that's more or less when Claude and Reflected start going back and forth. What was it like for the Westerners to take over from the Japanese community?
Well, when Ref got his first record, I wasn't around yet because I was early 2013, and I think there's no more videos either of this record. I don't know if you guys found one.
I haven't found one yet.
4158. That's so sad that there's no video for this one. So I don't know about this one. I don't know like the impact it had because I wasn't around yet. But when I joined in 2014, I want to say that Reflected was already kind of ahead of everyone else. There was no top Japanese runners that was really active. I guess Riz was still active, but he wasn't grinding for any percent or anything. So the way it happened when I joined the community, Ref was coming from his AGDQ 2014 run, where he didn't do very well, and I don't know if he wanted to make up for that or if he just was feeling like playing the game, because he wasn't grinding for PBs before AGDQ, which is strange because that's what people do normally to practice. But he waited after AGDQ to start doing attempts again, and he was just doing a practice run, like it was a DROS run. It wasn't expecting anything, and that was one of my first time watching Reflected stream, and he just got world record. It was a 41, I think 54. It was just on a practice run, and it was pretty amazing to watch, to be honest. Because it was, I mean, he was like, "Oh, I'm rusty, I can't play," but he got the world record.
Yeah, I hear that a lot. Or it's like, yeah, this isn't going to be anything, and then bam, out of nowhere.
Yeah, well, there was new strats, I guess, a few new strategies. Like in Windy Well, there's a strategy called Get OB Skip. I think that was new, so that's like a couple seconds there that he could save over his previous run.
I think there were also 2 wrong warps were found roughly around this time, right? The Mud Hole Marsh and Hothead Hop.
They were already found, I'm pretty sure. Hothead Hop should have been a thing, and Mudhole also should have been a thing. Definitely was a thing.
Do you know roughly when?
That's a good question. It's a very good question.
I think the reason why is that we don't have the footage for Reflected's 20 or 4157. So it's possible it was already back in like 2013 it was found. We just don't have video of it. So like us on the outside looking into it, we didn't see it, but it's possible that it was already found back then.
Yes, I'm pretty sure Hothead Hop was definitely found because Twig had already made a tutorial about it by that point. I'll never forget the tutorial. You know what? I'm curious, actually. I'm going to go check some Twig runs from AGEQ, because Twig ran the game multiple times in like 2012 and everything. So maybe, let me just see real quick if he was doing the warp.
Sure. Is his YouTube just Twig, or is it like Twig?
I'm not sure about his YouTube, but it's on the Speed AGDQ YouTube.
I'm going to see if I can find that tutorial you said. Do you think it still exists out there?
Oh yeah, it's on the Twig tutorials.
Oh,
they should all be.
My editor has already found it.
Yeah, they should still be there. We don't want to, even if they're outdated, we just want to keep them because they're funny, first of all, and they're like a token of the past.
Absolutely. Okay. Yeah, it looks like they were both found in 2012.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Okay. Okay. I will keep that in my notes because I need to make sure that's good. Okay, interesting, because that would mean that Main Brace Mayhem and Top Sail Trouble were also found probably in the 2012 era, right?
Yeah, probably around that time, but they were a little different at how it's being done today, like a few seconds shorter for both of them. They were a little different. We could talk about it later, I guess, but yeah, it's been optimized since. But I would say it's so sad that there's no videos for any of these Japanese runs. Let me see what Riz was doing in 2012. I don't think it was.
Riz?
Yeah, there's a video of Riz 4203.
03?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, I do have that.
He does top sail wrong warp in that one.
Okay.
That was 2012. And if he does top sail, then he definitely does Hothead Hop. Yeah, he does it. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's hard to pinpoint because like the Japanese they did like all the groundwork for this game. They found all the basic like warps and the big boys, all that stuff. So it gets pretty difficult to figure out when stuff was found, unless you were there like as a Japanese player.
No, I feel you. I guess, do you have any insight on like how they would have found that kind of stuff, or maybe why it was always the Japanese who found it?
Well, it was always the Japanese because they were the only one playing it.
Okay.
There was no.
I guess that makes sense. I just because like Twig and Garrison, you started taking notes and started playing all the way back in 2012 as well. 2011, yeah.
Twig and Garrison. 2012, the Jews, Kipples, Reflected started joining, but the two guys that started it all were Twig and Gary for sure.
Okay. All right. Oh, I just had a thought. I don't remember what it was. So were you aware of the scandal involving Alice in the Japanese
Oh,
community?
I was wondering if that was going to come up. No, I'm
Yeah.
not. I don't have like any scoop on that one. I don't know if you guys have managed to contact Kryptonberry. I'm pretty sure you guys didn't, but he
I haven't
deleted
reached
all
out to
his
him.
base bins. Like
Mm,
there were base bins for a lot of these Japanese times, but he deleted all of it.
motherfucker. God damn.
Yes.
Oh,
That damn
man.
kid made that fucking PowerPoint, and now the speedrunning community has to suffer.
Yes.
Yeah. Not to get too much into it, but I was under the so I know you made the world record thing on the wiki.
Yes.
And you left the comment, and I kind of noticed there was a little bit of salt in there. I think CJ noticed it. I didn't think it was that bad. And so whenever we started looking into DKC2, we noticed that there used to be a world record progression, but there no longer was. And
That's correct.
and I asked Void, I said, hey, do you have any idea why it's not here anymore? And he was like, oh, I'll ask around. I didn't know. And he didn't know. He only got back to me recently saying that Krypton didn't want it to be used or something like that. I didn't really
Yeah,
get
I
the
mean,
whole concept.
I don't want to speak for him, but like you guys contacted Claude, right? I talked to him like about an hour ago.
Oh, you did?
And yeah, I talked to Claude, and like he's not gonna be in the doc, right?
I mean, I'm not gonna interview him. I'm gonna talk about him and Reflected going back and forth. But
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know. He's not a fan of like world record progression stuff, Claude, and I think it might have like influenced Krypton to delete all that stuff. I think that's why we're here right now.
man, that's
It's
a
a little
shame.
sad. I'm a big fan of history. I think it's like the only thing that's true, and
Yeah.
I like things to be remembered as they were. So
hmm
I don't agree with that. I've deleted content myself in the past, so like I'm not judging or anything. But man, when it comes to history, please keep it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm curious if any of it's instead of being deleted, I wonder if it's just unlisted or like privatized.
I don't know because they're paste pins, and when you click on them, it says removed by the creator.
Hmm.
It's sad, but at
I'm
least
not,
like
I would have to go ahead.
the main document is still accessible from the wiki history, at least.
Yeah.
it's really
Yeah.
frustrating. Sorry to cut in. Fresh wound here. We were working with someone yesterday, and it came out like, "Oh, I don't really want to be in the video. Like, I don't want you to use my videos and stuff." And we're like, I won't say what game it was, but it was like, dude, you are the guy for like 4 years.
Ooh,
And it
that's
was like,
typical.
what do you mean? What do you mean? You played this game for 4 years. You streamed yourself. You put yourself out there. And it's like, yeah, I don't want you to use my records. Ultimately, that was not. We ended up resolving that, but it's like, I just don't understand this notion of like I gotta delete history. I gotta get rid of
Yeah,
it.
Because you more or less really are deleting history. It's still out there, but it's like it's no longer accessible to anybody.
yeah. I mean, I can understand some arguments about they don't want their content to be monetized or something like that, but I don't know. I just think
So,
history trumps all that stuff, but that's just me.
yeah. Well, I wanted to reach out to both of them just for comment. I've also messaged Reflected, but he has not responded.
Yeah, he's a little. He's been cut off from speedrunning for a long time.
Yeah.
Guess you could say it that way. And it's. I feel like you guys are gonna have a tough time with this, to be honest.
Well, I think we have a lot of content and a lot of story to tell.
Yeah, I mean, Void. I'm sure Void is like all about it. So at least you guys have that. But
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I'm trying to think where were we?
Well, we're talking about
Claude Reflected.
yeah, I mean, before Claude showed up, he was still like pushing the time down a little bit, but you could never really get like the run that he wanted. I think before Claude butted in, I think Reflected out of 41-43, which was a pretty strong run for the time, but I don't think he was happy with it still. And that's where Claude came in, and that's when stuff started to get pretty crazy. Because Ref didn't really have any competition for a long time. I think it must have been over a year at that point.
Okay.
That he had the record with no competition, no one really playing. I think one thing to mention that I don't think you can really see this outside of if you go on Speedruns Live and look at race results. But after Reflected got the first world record that wasn't Japanese, the game kind of died. Like no one was racing anymore. The summer of 2013, no one was racing. If you check on SRL, there's no races for Donkey 2. It goes from races every day to no races. And then it picks up again in fall 2013 with new runners coming in, like Christmas, for instance. But yeah, he didn't really have any competition because of that. The game was just dead after he got the record.
Interesting.
And I don't know if Claude was practicing in secret all this time. Maybe he was. But.
Interesting. Okay. And then eventually Claude comes back and actually comes out. I think that's in May of 2014. Claude takes the record for the first time. Not by a lot, but by a little. And then
Claude takes the record with the maximum ironic record, I think is what he called it. Because he wasn't. Here's the thing: Claude wasn't playing the game very seriously. He was.
Interesting.
He was very ironic about the whole thing. And if you guys have seen his layouts for his streams, I'm sure you have noticed.
I've seen it. Approaching maximum irony.
Yes, which basically means I almost have world record, because maximum irony meant getting the record. Because there's nothing more ironic than playing a game, getting a world record, I guess. But that was pretty funny, this whole thing. And he had this very casual attitude about him, like, "Oh, I just got world record. Isn't that ironic, guys? Isn't that funny?" And
I don't think he understands the definition of irony, but okay.
it was funny. It was quite a character, and like, so he made quite a bit of fans, I guess you could say. I was a fan for sure, and like you guys said, it wasn't record by much, but it was on SNES. Which was a big deal because all the top runners were running on VC pretty much. The Jews, Reflected, most of the Japanese runners were on VC. I think Kipples was still an emulator, and Dragon Ball Joseph was one of the only Super Nintendo purists. But it was kind of a big deal that Super Nintendo became the record again. It was just, it's like Claude kind of inched records from Reflected. But you always have to keep in mind that he was on SNES, so he was really fighting an uphill battle. Like he always had 7. I'm gonna say 7 seconds. I don't know the exact number. We've always suspected it was around 7, but he always has those 7 seconds loss in black frames and loading frames. And there's nothing he can do about it. He just needs to get over it with just better movement, and that's what he did. He just had. For instance, his Arctic Abyss were just that much better than everyone else. And stuff like that really made him be able to take the record, even when he wasn't that serious about it.
I gotcha. Yeah, it's actually interesting because he's like at a 7 second or so disadvantage, and he's still able to just sort of barely inch out a new world record every couple of days, right?
Yeah. And I think there was like some new strats which helped also. Between Reflected's 41-43 and Claude 41-42, there was a new main brace long warp that was found, like a new method that saved a little over a second, which is instead of clashing the beetle at the top of the mass, you go all the way down with the beetle and clash at the bottom. So that helped. That's like over a second save right there. And there was another new strat I think he did in Crockhead Clamber. There was a roll where you kind of go into the swamp. It was called Riz Roll. So it was doing also newer strats, and just it was a little more updated in his strategies, and his movement was just better. So that's why he was able to get the record, even when he was at a disadvantage.
Okay. Okay.
And one funny thing about Claude's first wall record, and I think if you listen to the post-run commentary, you can figure it out, but it was a warm-up run. That's a common theme with Claude, is that he kind of just he boots up the console and he just kind of PBs immediately. And sometimes people were questioning. That's not the first time that this happened, but his very first wall record was a warm-up run. I think it's pretty impressive.
I guess the warm up becomes just that's the strat, right? You got to warm up and then cool down immediately. And start over.
True. That's true.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, so when Claude got it, obviously reflected, wanted it back, and he came back and he got it. I think pretty quickly. Let me check the doc. Yeah, I got it like almost. When was it?
See, a few days.
10 days later. Yeah, 10 days later.
Yeah.
It was only by 1 second.
Yeah.
So, like, technically, you could say, well, he's on VC, so his run was still worse than Claude's, but the leaderboards were not separated. Now they are separated on speedrun.com, but back then, VC, SNES was all on the same leaderboard, so Reflected took the record back 10 days later. And there's not much to say about that run, I guess. He just took it back. It was like, well, I guess I have to play again because Claude is in town now, and I have competition after 2 years of playing this game and being at the top.
Yeah. So I see that, over the month of May, that you go back and forth like 4 or 5 times.
Yes.
Then things kind of settle down, it looks like. But then we get Bramble Scramble Wrong Warp.
Oh yeah, that was that's the first big shakeup that I've seen in the game after I've joined. I don't know if there was any before that, because as far as I know, all the big strategies were already there. I think Twig started running the game before CLC Wrong Warp was from. I could be wrong there. Like I think I might be wrong there, so don't quote me on that. But Twig keeps saying, "Oh, it's sad that there's a CLC Wrong Warp." So when the Brambler Wrong Warp was found, there was a little bit of sadness. A lot of people were saying, it's like a family member died. It's like I think Claude said something like, it's like that weird uncle that's always annoying to you dies. You're gonna be sad, but like at the same time you're gonna be happy because you don't have to deal with him. So it's a little bittersweet when it was found.
Interesting. Did people like Bramble Scramble as a level?
Well, not everyone, because it's pretty difficult. You have to pick squawks, and that's a mechanic that's not used a lot in DKC2. And I think one of the hardest thing about DKC2 is that there's so many little different things you need to be good at. It's like so many little stages that have different gimmicks, everything. Yeah. So not everyone liked it, but I was sad. I remember we did a lot of 10x Warpless Bramble race when this was found. I was actually out of town when this was found, so I was on a fishing trip. So I came back and I saw, wow, what happened, guys? The record fell by like almost a minute.
Jesus,
and I think a funny anecdote to say about the Wrong Warp also is that the way it was found was that, we always knew there was a beetle in the stage, there was a bonus barrel, and like always trying to kind of make the Wrong Warp happen. And a runner called Closty, which was also featured in the DKC1 document because he had a world record at one point in DKC1.
I remember there's a line where we say, "Old Closty boy," like he's our, I don't know why, but he's our old friend. But
I did like that line. I'm glad that it made it into the final script. I did write that one line.
Nice. Like Klosty's a really nice guy. He's the one that found the Brambler wrong warp.
Mhm.
And he kind of trolled everyone because he posted a highlight on his Twitch, and the thumbnail was Bramble Scramble with the bonus barrel. It really made it seem like he had found the warp. But then when you click on the video, it was just some other strategy in Mudhole Marsh that had nothing to do. So he was just trolling everyone. And then because of that, he actually started trying to find warp. And literally hours later, he managed to do it. And the game was broke wide open.
That's funny. That like, I want to troll somebody. Oh, wait, I'm actually gonna find it.
Yeah, it started as a troll, but it became real. And saved almost a minute. I want to say 55 seconds. Obviously, it depends on execution on the warpless stage, but almost a minute. And it was crazy. And records change hands every few hours. And I miss all of it because I was out of town. I was a little sad, but
Dude.
I wish I had seen it. I think they were saying something like, oh, let's check the Google Docs tomorrow to see who has world record.
Just changing every day. It literally changed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times in 3 days. So once on July 5th, twice on July 6th, and twice on July 7th.
Yeah, I'm so sad I missed this. Oh, man. Wait, 1 minute.
Yeah, almost. It was like 50 seconds. Oh.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, one thing that's worth mentioning also is that they were all on a mumble call together, all trying to get the record. So I think if you watch Claude's 4127, which is the first record after the trick is found, they're all in the call and they're all chatting it up. It's pretty entertaining.
I gotcha.
I think it just goes to show how strong the community was at the time, that they were all together in a call trying to get the record.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So we're kind of mentioned about Bramble Scramble, and I asked you if you like that level, or do people like that level? But sort of an off tangent. What levels do you think are some of the hardest levels in the run?
Well, it's a tough question to answer because tough can mean two things. Can mean difficult to optimize, or can mean it's difficult to get to the end. For instance, Webwoods is a very difficult and scary stage. You can lose runs like all day. But getting an optimal Webwoods is pretty easy. You just don't die, essentially.
Yeah.
But if I'm going by both criteria, I would say stages like Glimmer's Galleon is pretty difficult to optimize. Bramble Scramble before the wrong warp was pretty difficult. Any stage where you have to control a parrot is going to be difficult to optimize. Mudhole Marsh is a very technical stage. A lot of strategies that can kill you, that saves almost no time, and a wrong warp at the end. Some people would say that all the honey stages are difficult because honey climbing is difficult. But I would say the big three, though, would be, people would usually tell you Mudhole Marsh, Webwoods, and Toxic Tower. Toxic Tower is just essentially the hardest stage in the game to optimize.
Yeah, it's like the last one, isn't it? One of the last stages?
It's the penultimate stage, I guess you could call it. Screeches is the last stage, and then K-Roll is kind of you kind of fall asleep on that one. No one cares about that one.
Yeah, DKC has a history of the final boss is like kind of whatever.
Yeah, DKC 3 is a bit different though. There's
I haven't watched DKC.
So. I can't wait till you guys do DKC 3. I have a few more.
Okay. Yeah. If this video goes really well, I think CJ is really pushing for 3. So
should be a good one.
The trilogy. We'll see. I don't really know too much about it, so I'd have to look into it. But I mean, I think people love that game. I think it's got a lot of fan base.
Oh yeah.
So I think it'd be a good video to cover.
There's no document though, I think, for that game.
Yeah, but we made our own. We were able to see Krypton's sort of progression, but in the end we ended up making our own document that we've been going off of.
Okay.
So I mean, it gives us more flexibility and customization. We can actually put in like when things are found, or links and dates and times and all that stuff. So
yeah, I mean, I spent like a bunch of times today trying to figure out when stuff was found, but it's all such small strategies. Like if you don't consider the big wrong warps. It's all very little time saves, but
Hmm.
I think I should be able to answer or like know when a lot of little strategies were implemented.
Okay. Well, I guess sort of to sort of finish off this thought of the era with Claude and Reflected going back and forth, we see things kind of calm down towards the end of 2014, and Void ends up picking up in 2015, right?
Yes.
Was there were people getting sort of burnt out or cooling down, or how would you describe?
Well, here's what happened. Ref and Claude had their back and forth, and they weren't super serious about the game. Like I mentioned earlier, Claude was playing quote unquote ironically, but they wouldn't really grind the game. Like when Claude got the 40-45, was that 40-45? Yes, Claude 40-45. I talked earlier about how he got world record on a warm-up run. The 40-45 was done on the first run. He opened the console, got world record, and he was like, I swear to God, this is not Splice, guys. So they were not really grinders. They were just like, they would get a record, and then they'd play another game and wait for instance, Reflected would play Uniel. He'd wait for Claude to get record. Claude would get a record and go play Final Fantasy Mystic Quest. Reflected will get a record. So they were kind of, I don't want to say casual about it because their runs were still really good, but they could have taken the game much more seriously for sure. And AGQ 2015, there was a four-way race of DKC2 with Krauser, Dragon Ball Joseph, Reflected, and Claude, and they all made a pact after that race to never play Donkey 2 ever again.
Really?
Yes. And three out of four of these people actually followed through. Reflected, Krauser, Dragon Ball. After AGQ 2015, the four-way race, they never touched the game again. Claude briefly played, but he was pretty much done also. So the game was a little dead at that point, and that's when Void swoops in. And I think what Void had that Claude and Reflected didn't have is the will to grind and to just actually be serious about it, and to sit down and to be consistent and to just have the stamina. It's I think stamina and persistence are the two key things when it comes to speedrunning. It was pretty clear when Void came into the scene that he had those two things, and it was clear that he wanted the record and he got it. And I mean, I think he's been pretty dominant since. So I think, yeah, persistence and stamina can take you a long way.
Absolutely. I think he seems to, like, he's adopted the run as his own, like, and he kind of has that same mentality of like, oh, when someone takes my world record, I'm going to take it back. Like, it's my record.
Yeah,
right?
so DKC 20% is a little bit like, it's his baby at this point. Like, if someone takes it, he's going to want it back for sure. I mean, you can look at the world record history. It's pretty evident by that.
Yeah.
But
Keeps coming back every time someone takes it. He just takes it right back.
Yeah, I mean, when he was first starting, like when he got the first 40-35, he struggled a lot. It wasn't easy. I mean, when Void appeared on the scene, he was already really good. He already had a offline 41. So everyone was like, who is this guy? But like, he has a 41 already. He's playing really good. A lot of people were joking that it was Claude's alt. It was an alt account for Claude. I don't know if Void told you guys about that, if you guys talked to him yet, but
I did talk to him, but he never told me that.
Okay, yeah, there was kind of a joke. The Void was Claude because he didn't have a mic yet, so I was like, is this Claude's alt account? How can this guy be so good at the game? It turns out that he had just been playing a lot offline, so when he appeared, he was already probably top 10 in skill before his first stream. So yeah, he really took the game by storm, but it took him a long time to get his first record. Like, he would take runs really deep and he would choke them. There's the run that I remember in particular he was going to get the record. He enters toxic and he dies to one of the clamp on at the beginning. That never happens. Like I don't think I've ever seen that happen, but that happened to him on that run. The nerves. That was his first time being this far on world record pace. Obviously nowadays he kind of cakes records now. Doesn't take him very long, but his first record he really worked hard for it. He had to grind a lot.
I believe it. Got to break the barrier, and then everything after that, it's a little easier.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. What was I going to ask? So over the years, new wrong warps have been found slowly but surely. What do you think about the future of Donkey Kong speedruns? Like, it seems like every time a new wrong warp comes out, people come out, get world records and stuff. Like, Arctic Zip was found, and then Void comes back and nabs the record again. But there was like all of 2019, there wasn't a world record. So it seems like in between, there's not a lot of activity.
Yeah, it's kind of a thing where it's like, well, when is there going to be new tech? I think the joke is that there's new tech every 2 years in Donkey 2. So it's like everyone kind of comes back, gets their PBs. We call it cashing in. Cashing in strategy, retire again. But yeah, there's a lot of people. There's not a lot of runners that play this game consistently throughout the year. There's a lot of retiring going on for sure. So that's why records stand for a long time. But in the case of Void's 38-28, though, the run was really good. So it stood that long just because it was that good. I think what does Void have right now? 38-19 after the Arctic Zip. Yeah, like that's not up to par yet. You would have to shave a few more seconds there to be on par with a 38-28. I don't know if he's playing still. I think he is. It's probably going to go down.
I'm sure. I see him playing a bunch of things all the time. He's like streaming almost every day, but I'm sure he's not done yet.
But yeah, I think the reason for the records staying up for so long is that, well, first of all, Void is pretty far ahead of the curve. Like I was playing last fall, I could have maybe taken the record if I had played really hard for like an extra month or two. But man, this game is really difficult. It doesn't really have the reputation anymore, but 5 or 6 years ago, this game was consistently considered one of the hardest Super Nintendo speedrun. So that's why it's difficult for things to get shaken up. There's a new upcoming runner right now, SPD Wolf, is really good. Obviously, CV1, he had the Castlevania 1 world record and all that. I don't know if you guys know who he is.
The name sounds familiar.
Yeah, he's a really good speedrunner. He might contend for records soon. We'll see. He does a strategy that no one else does, the Gusty Glade Wrong Warp, which saves almost nothing and is extremely difficult. So that could be interesting. So as far as the future, yeah, maybe people will start doing the Gusty Glade Wrong Warp. Maybe one day, or maybe sooner than we think, Gusty Glade Wrong Warp would be needed for world record. And
that'll be a day.
Yeah, it doesn't save all that much. It's really hard. I'm the one that found that wrong warp, fun fact. I'm going to plug myself, even though it's not going to make it in the doc. But, yeah.
Gusty Glade Wrong Warp, found by DJeez.
Hell yeah.
Just made the doc. Just because you said it wasn't going to make the doc, I'm putting that shit in.
Oh, no. Please don't. Please don't.
We're going to blame that all on you, dude.
Technically, I also kind of kickstarted the Arctic Zip craze, but I didn't actually find that one. It was Kyoro. Was it Kyoro that? Oh, that guy, yeah. Yeah. But we've been working for years on the Arctic Zip. Me and Luke, we got so close. So it's pretty crazy to see all this unfold recently, because this has been going on for years that we've been trying for the Arctic Zip.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I was not aware. I guess I think you guys knew that the goalpost was like directly above, right? That's why the
post is directly above. That we knew from looking at maps. And me and another runner called Luke found out that you can swap and get hit by a clobber, lose Diddy, and if you take damage from that, you can zip through the stage. We were able to zip on other places through the stage, but not at the goalpost. And a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago, a runner called Guild42 gave it a shot, used our old setup and everything, and he got hit at just the right spot, and he zipped, and it blew everyone's mind. That was the first time we had seen it. But then a week later, a Tasser, that guy comes out, he's like, yeah, I have a faster, better way to do the zip anyway, so all that work you guys did doesn't matter.
If you don't mind me asking, when did you start looking?
Must have been early 2017, roughly.
Okay, part 2, resume. So 2017, you started looking?
Been around this time, because I'm guilty of retiring a lot in this game. So that time I was playing was released 2017, and yeah, we were looking pretty hard into this. Like I said, we found a couple ways to zip, and we're making it so close to the goal, but no cigar until last month when Gil finally did it. It's not like we've been checking every day for 2 years, but sometimes it would get brought up because not everyone knew about it, and they were interested. They would try themselves, and Gil was the one that actually made it happen. It was pretty crazy.
Okay, there you go. So what? I guess so. You could do the zip on other parts of the level, but it just never made you hit the goalpost, and so you just couldn't figure out how to do it, or.
Well, it's more like we could zip further into the stage, but there was no use for it because there's nothing there. So you really had to be at a very specific spot to go to warp to the goal, and we never got hit at that particular spot. We need to get lucky to figure it out.
Okay, cool deal.
But for the future, I don't know. There's like a Webwood's long warp also that's kind of trying. Some people are trying to make it a thing. It's very, 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 very difficult. I don't think anyone has done it in RTA. I think a lot of runners are making a joke and comparing it to Carpetless in SM64. Like, oh, when are you guys gonna Webwood's long warp? It's easy. It's just like Carpetless. But I don't know, because the warp happens at the beginning of the stage, so even if the setup is long, it could still end up saving time one day. Who knows?
Okay, we'll keep it in mind. All right, I think that just about wraps up all of our questions for you.
All right.
Do you have anyone that you think we should talk to?
It depends for which era, quote unquote, or like what kind of questions.
I think we have a lot of information on like the more modern stuff, like 2015 on, because we have Void himself, and Dustpan as well has been in the community for that time. We talked to Essentia. So Essentia was actually predates the Japanese people or the Japanese.
Oh yeah, that's true. I feel bad now because I was saying it was nothing but Japanese player. But yeah, Essentia did run the game at Classic Games on Quick, and I think maybe another GQ. And she was also doing runs for SD like much earlier than that. Yeah. That's true.
Yeah. To be fair, she never once posted a PB video, I should say. She'd mentioned that she got in certain times, but she had always recorded runs, and she was like, it's not good enough. It's got a couple of deaths, so I don't want to post it anywhere. And
yeah, that's how it was with SDA back then. You kind of needed to have like a quote-unquote spotless run to be able to submit.
Yeah.
But I was also recording on fucking VHS and had to mail it.
Oh yeah.
I got a big kick out of that.
Shit. Yeah, it's just GoldenEye strats.
Yeah,
but,
exactly. But yeah, so we talked to Essentia, so we have that. I want to talk to, I guess I'll ask your opinion. I'm thinking about talking to Tonkatsu, or at least both Void and Dustpan recommended that I talk to him.
Oh yeah, because he's really fluent in English. I don't know how long he's been around in Japanese community, but if you guys want to talk to a Japanese runner, I think Tonkatsu's the guy for sure. And
Okay.
if you guys are looking for like an old school guy, I think Kipples would be a really good guy, but getting a hold of him is a whole
Yeah,
situation.
I was told. I think by either Dustpan or Void. Probably Dustpan. But he's like, Kipples would be great, but how in the world are you going to get in contact with him?
Kipples is a gold mine of information.
Gotcha. Do you think Garrison or Twig would want to talk to us?
Garrison or Twig? What do you think, Chris? You think they would? Garrison or Twig? You think they would be interested in doing this?
Well, Gary, I think, is taking a break right now from like social media for a month or whatever. So I
Okay.
think Twig would be interested.
Yeah, maybe Twig. It seems like Gary's in the middle of a social media purge or something.
Interesting.
But maybe Twig. I think Twig would be a yeah, he would probably say yes. I'm sure he would say yes. He's a nice guy.
Okay. And Twig was way back in 2011, you said, right?
Oh yeah, he's one of the OG.
Old boy.
OG doesn't get more OG than Twig.
Is he still active?
No, he doesn't speedrun anymore. He's a casual for life now, but he's still around.
I gotcha. Okay. All right. All right, then let me go ahead and end the recording here. We'll just go ahead and call that. Boom, boom, boom. All right, LZ.
Yeah, the way LZ approached the run was, I've never seen anything like this. It was pure brute force. He learned all the hard strats. He started doing runs. He didn't even have a PB. He would reset on the smallest mistakes. I think his attempt counter is, it reached probably like, I don't know, 10,000 maybe? I don't know. Maybe nowadays it might be 10,000, but like, it was just crazy. He would reset on the smallest mistakes, and he just pushed and pushed and pushed until he got world record. It was, I never thought he would do it. I was like, he resets too much. You can't approach a speed game like that, but he did it, damn it, and I can't believe it.
That's cool. Yeah, I was told that he definitely is a reset monster.
Oh yeah.
I wouldn't realize he had 10,000 attempts, or roughly 10,000.
Well,
attempts.
I think when I look, because he PB'd recently, because the Arctic Zip, he beat my time. The bastard, he beat my time with the Arctic Zip. But yeah, I think he's at 12,000 attempts now, something like that. And about Krypton, I just wanted to, I don't know if anyone else mentioned, but I think it's worth mentioning that his approach to the run's a little different than that Void, for instance, in the way that he foregoes a lot of strategies that are hard and save very little time. And he still managed to get the record with that, which I think is impressive. Because, I don't know, a lot of world record holders in this game have the mentality of, I need to go for nearly everything. But the truth of the matter with Donkey 2 is that you can get a really good time and play very safe. No one's really done it before Krypton, I want to say. I mean, if you watch his world record, he does go for a lot of crazy strat, but compared to Void, he plays much safer, and he just relies on great movement and like frame savers everywhere. I think it's pretty remarkable, especially for such a young runner to have such a mature approach to the run.
Okay. Those are both very good points, and I'm glad you brought them up. We were about to end this call, and you were like, oh, don't forget, there's these two big pieces of history. Please talk about them. Oh my gosh.
Well, I think it's interesting because it's just so different. Like LZ, Krypton, Void, they all have their different style, and I think it's worth mentioning.
I agree. I do agree that it's worth mentioning. So, okay. All right. One more thing. The Alice controversy. I want to get your thoughts on it. Is that something that people in general are like, they want to sweep under the rug and don't want to talk about it? Is that something
I think it happened too long ago. I think most people don't even know about it, I would say. Because it's all within the Japanese community. So we don't know much about it. As far as cheaters in this game, I think the only one that I can think of would be Bats, and that happened very recently. That was like a few months ago, maybe a year ago.
Okay.
He cheated a run for a money prize.
Oh, what the fuck? That's scummy.
Yeah, that was like a bounty for the next, I think it was 39, and he just made a task and he played it back and he pretended that he got a 39. And I think it was Luis Miguel, the Mega Man X3 god, who called him out. That's the only instance that I can think of like cheating in this game
Okay.
that people probably know about. Alice, it's been. I
Okay.
wish Krypton didn't delete the pay spins or anything.
Yeah, I
But-
know that. I know I brought it up in the interview, but we kind of glossed over it, and I think we transitioned to like the old school history. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on it again, because you're right. I don't think many people know about it. I think it's kind of an interesting idea, and I kind of want to talk about it in the video. But if it's like taboo and I shouldn't talk about it, then I might sort of briefly go over it a little bit. But you know, I just wanted to gauge your interest, because from what I remembered in the conversation, it sounded like maybe this is a touchy subject. Maybe we shouldn't talk about it. So
the Alice thing?
yeah,
I don't think so. I really don't think
Okay.
anyone would be.
it was a long time ago, and I don't think anybody remembers it. So that's why
No.
I definitely
And-
want to talk to some of the Japanese runners and get their thoughts on that. So.
Yeah, maybe they know more about this. I wish I knew more about that too myself, but sadly I don't.
Well, you just might find out.
Yeah, that's true.
In our video.
I'll stay tuned.
Absolutely, man. Speaking of which, I'm going to give you a role here in our Discord, so you will have access to our channel, and so we'll be posting like the script and the video updates and things like that as it comes out. So if you want to at least
Cool.
stick around in the Discord, you don't have to be active or anything, but we'll keep posting things here in the Discord as they come along. So.
That sounds good to me.
All right, man.
All
Okay.
right, dip out.
All right, man. Thanks for chatting with us.
No problem. Can't wait to watch the video,
Absolutely. All right, dude.
guys.
See ya.